This is Golden Years, a roadmap to navigate retirement with Mark Cordner, the podcast.
I tell you what, another item when it comes to planning for your retirement that is not cookie cutter is Social Security. We have talked plenty of times about waiting to claim Social Security because it basically is going to result in, a bigger monthly paycheck from the government if you wait those extra couple years. But personal finance radio host Dave Ramsey, this is his idea. He says, take Social Security benefits at the earliest possible age of 62 and then take all that and invest that money into a mutual fund. He claims that will more than make up for the extra money that you would be getting included in your checks if you had waited to claim at that later date. So is this solid advice?
I think it's a little simplistic, like a lot of the things that come from these media gurus. They talk as if a one-size shoe fits everyone. I think Dave Ramsey's incredibly good at debt management. Kind of wish he'd stick to that. But on this Social Security issue, there's a lot of considerations, and the mathematical consideration is only one. I mean, mathematically speaking, the longer we delay claiming, the better off we'll be in terms of a higher payout, and the simple fact that Social Security is not entirely taxable. Only a portion of it is taxable. And he doesn't touch on that, and that's a material issue. So many people choose to wait until their full retirement age, which is typically 66 or more commonly 67 now. But if they wait until age 70, they've got a guaranteed increase, which is hard to match in the private marketplace when we're talking about guaranteed income sources. So yes, it's possible, it's conceivable that you might be able to do better in the market. But one of the things he doesn't touch on is if you're still working prior to your full retirement age, you're not going to get your full Social Security benefit. There's actually a holdback of a portion of those benefits up until your full retirement age. So when I say his advice is a little simplistic, I don't mean to be rude, but there just are other considerations beyond simply investing the money and having it magically turn out better, because there's no guarantees in the market, and certainly not in the way that he's recommending that people invest. But that's the mathematical side, is that you get a higher payout if you wait. The practical side is that if you are fully retired at age 62 and you delay claiming, then you're going to have to live off of your investable assets. And to the degree you live off of those are no longer available to transfer to your children and grandchildren as an inheritance. And so there's some non-financial kind of practical considerations that have to come into play. And so sometimes we'll show a mathematical ideal and people will do something entirely different for practical reasons, because none of us live our lives for purely mathematical reasons. And so we just got to look at the whole situation. It's a very, very personal and customized situation we've got to address.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're exactly right. That customizable situation, you mentioned it earlier, some folks go about planning for finances in like the Cinderella story, right? It is not a one size, fits all. It's just like the story in Cinderella, right? You got to find the right fit for you. And I think, and we've talked about this before, taking guaranteed money, like he's saying, take it at 62, take that guaranteed money that's guaranteed to go in your pocket and then throw it into a mutual fund and hope that it works the best, versus kind of holding steady, using maybe different other streams of income while you're holding out from 62 to 70, which would give you that 8% guaranteed growth. There's also a risk versus reward factor there too, right?
No, absolutely there is. Again, there's no guarantees in the market. So it really just depends on what a family's goals are. If I'm talking to a single man who has no dependents, then the considerations are entirely different than when I'm talking to a widowed woman with children, where we primarily have to look at her income and then, are there legacy goals? And often there are with their children and grandchildren. So again, it's not a size 10 fits everyone kind of answer.
Sure. And this is, again, Social Security is something that has been it's been a part of a contentious conversation as well. As you look, you've worked so hard, you're putting money into it. Is it going to be diminished? They keep throwing the either 2033 or 2035 around. Is it going to be diminished? Is it going to be there? That's also another conversation. And I think that, Mark, you would agree with me as we talked about it over the weeks that Social Security, yes, you've been paying into it. So should you get paid out of it? Absolutely. That should happen. Should you rely on it 100% for your retirement? Absolutely not. I'm going to go on a limb and say, would you agree?
Absolutely. I agree with that. We can't depend just on it. It's number one, it's insufficient for most people's needs. But number two, there is this concern about a reduction in benefits down the road. I'm less concerned about that for people over the age of 50, because typically when changes are discussed, it's for people under the age of 50. But yeah, we don't want to rely on any one source for anything. I mean, we've just got to have multiple streams of income to have the security that we both want and need in the future. So we have to do a portfolio analysis and a goals analysis and just see, what are you really trying to accomplish? What do you have currently? What needs to be changed? And there's just too many questions there to give a simple answer to.
Because we're talking about, of course, creating different streams of income, guaranteed income being a huge conversation. One way to get guaranteed income is from the A word of retirement planning and annuity. So the question is, when does an annuity make sense? Well, there is a recent article that says while annuities aren't right for everybody, you should consider them if you fall into one of these three categories. Number one, your spending is high relative to the assets you've saved. Number two, you want income from guaranteed sources. Number three, the idea of guaranteed income gives you that peace of mind. So, Mark, doesn't that describe most people that you work with that walk through that door?
Oh, absolutely. As people approach retirement, they tend to go into a preservation mindset. And so there's two things that annuities do uniquely well. One is they can help us kind of de-risk a portfolio to safely grow money. But the other is it can create an income stream that you can never outlive. And that has enormous psychological benefits as well as the obvious financial benefits. We can typically pull multiples, a couple times the income off of an annuity that we can pull off of a mutual fund or a variable portfolio. And we can do that with security. And so, as for me, I periodically, at least once a year, I will go into my accounts and I'll sweep money out of my market-based investments into more principal protected alternatives, such as annuities. I own 5 annuities now. I'll own more before I fully retire. But I do that because preservation is a key desire for people who have spent their lifetime accumulating, and now they don't have time to recover. And that becomes very clear to people as they approach the finish line, as it were, to transition into retirement, is that the one thing we don't have anymore is time.
Something I want to highlight about annuities, Mark, I wonder if you agree with me, is, listen, it's no secret the Fed, the interest rates are kind of killing everybody, but there's also different opportunities that you can take and take advantage of these high interest rates. And having an annuity is part of that. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. Just like when interest rates go down, we refinance our home. When interest rates go up, we refinance our retirement. And so that's been a big part of what we've been busy doing the last few months is we're looking at old insurance contracts that people have in place, and we're updating those to new, more generous plans. And we can typically do that without incurring an expense to a net expense to the client. And we can get them with higher payouts or more guarantees. Matter of fact, the cool thing there's been a lot of innovation in the insurance industry, and particularly in the annuity world over the last 5 to 10 years. And we're seeing these hybrid products come out where we can now add in, for example, chronic illness or long-term care features, which is a big concern for a lot of people, particularly when they don't have a lot of discretionary income to go off and buy a long-term care plan or this or that. We can actually multi-purpose the same dollars to help us address whatever life brings us in the future. None of us has a crystal ball. And so these hybrid plans have become very popular with people because we can put a backstop, as it were, these guardrails in that says, just in case retirement doesn't go the way we want, illness or frailty or accidents, whatever may cause us to need hands-on assistance, that long-term care is expensive. And we can multiply the values in annuities to provide additional funds for that kind of care. So again, there's no one size fits all. There's thousands of varieties out there, a couple thousand companies that do these, and then multiples of that in terms of the product offerings. And so you really want to work with someone that's a broker that can go out and that can shop like a fiduciary would to find whatever is in your best interest, not their best interest, but your best interest. And that's what we do for people. It's very fulfilling.
Investment advisory services offered through Golden Years Financial LLC, a registered investment advisory firm. Insurance is offered through Golden Years Insurance Services. These firms do not provide legal or tax advice. Consult your own legal and tax advisors before taking actions that may have tax implications. Investing in securities involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Insurance contracts principal protection is based on the claim-paying ability of the respective insurer. None of the information contained on this website shall constitute an offer to sell or solicit to buy a security or insurance product. The information and opinions contained on this site or requested from this site are provided by third parties believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. They are provided for informational purposes only and are not a solicitation to buy or sell any of the products mentioned. Any media logos and or trademarks contained herein are the property of their respective owners, and no endorsement by those owners of Mark Cordner, Golden Years Financial, or Golden Years Insurance is stated or implied.